Hey there, I'm Brandon, and this is the Dirt Church Devotional. So let me ask you, have you ever started working on something and maybe you knew you had to do some maintenance, and as you got into it, the job got bigger than you thought, it got a little bit uglier than you thought it was going to be? Had to replace the chain on my wife's quad. Noticed that it was kind of skipping, so I checked chain was shot. So I'll probably end up replacing the sprocket too. We were actually down at the dunes at the time, so I just went and got a new chain, put it on. Came home, got to looking at it, and discovered, I do need to change the sprocket. It was pretty worn. While I'm looking at it, though, I realized, one of the pinch bolts that secures the axle, one of the pinch bolts had stripped out, so I got to replace that. So I started tearing it apart, and then I realized the axle bearings were shot and sealed. Might as well replace the seals at the same time, and as long as I'm in it, might as well replace the brakes. Well, as long as I got it apart, replacing the rear sprocket, you replace them as a set, so I replaced the front sprocket. I better bling it up a little bit, so I got a nice aftermarket case guard in case it ever decides to throw the chain. Then, I'm looking at it a little bit more. A friend of mine had pointed out that I had a short stud on the front wheel. Well, maybe it didn't suck through far enough when whoever put it on, maybe it didn't come through. So I just put my impact driver on there and thought I'd suck it through. No, I broke it. So decided, I better pull that apart and replace that. Might as well replace the other studs while I'm at it. Then I discovered that the front wheel bearings are shot. And long story short, a simple job got to be a little bit bigger. I say all that to say I think that's a really good, safe metaphor for our lives. Most of us, when we come to Christ, we realize, man, my life is kind of messed up. I've got some issues in my life that I can't handle so well, and so I'm gonna ask the Lord to help me. We come to Christ. And I don't know about you, but for me, the longer I serve the Lord, the closer I get to Him, the more I realize I've got other issues. The mess goes deep, and I really need the Lord's help. And that can get frustrating. Sometimes you might just feel like giving up. I feel like, the further I dig, the worse it gets. My life is just a mess. How could God even care? I mean, look at this. I'm supposed to be getting better, and all I see is the ugly. Let me encourage you. You're not catching the Lord by surprise. He knew all about the ugly long before He ever called you into a relationship with Him. It was the ugly that sent Him to the cross. It was the ugly that He looked at and said, you know what? In spite of that ugly, I love you, and I want you. You think about the 12 disciples that Jesus picked, and they are all messes. Every single one of them, not just Jews, but every single one of them. I don't know how many times I can imagine Jesus just doing a face palm as he's talking to these guys. You just don't get it. You just don't get it. And He continually had to work on them. But you know what? After 3.5 years, they weren't perfect. You continue reading in Acts, you continue reading in the epistles. They never reached a point of perfection on this earth, but He loved them enough and He trusted them enough that when He ascended into heaven, He left the founding of the church, the growth of the church, up to them. I want to tell you, I really believe Jesus loves the process, and He loves you in the process just as much as He does the finished product. The Bible tells us not to give up in well-doing, because if we stick it out, if we continue, we will reap a harvest. All right? Well, take that, think about it, chew on it. Have a great day. If you like this, share it. If you don't, I probably won't even know. Have a good day.